Okay, let's unpack this. You pour all this money, significant resources, into a really cutting-edge cloud platform. Let's say Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, ICS, powerful stuff.
Right.
But then maybe you hit this point where you realize, hang on, we're only scratching the surface here. It feels a bit like owning a supercar just to pop to the shops.
That's a perfect analogy, actually. It happens a lot.
It really does. So our mission today in this deep dive is to figure out how organizations can get past just having ICS and really start maximizing that ROI, unlocking serious business value. We want to get into what leaders really need to know about proving that impact.
And that's the key, isn't it? The real value, the ROI from something like ICS Cloud data integration, it goes way beyond just the tech specs or, moving data a bit faster.
Okay.
Those things are important, sure, they're the baseline. But the truly transformative stuff, that tends to happen in, well, I'd say 4 core areas.
Right, so it's less about point A to point B speed and more about making that whole journey smarter, more valuable overall.
Yeah.
So how does that work with the first area you mentioned, operational efficiency?
Exactly. For operational efficiency, just think about how much time teams can sink into, say, manual data checks or building custom scripts over and over for every new data source.
Yeah, that sounds painfully familiar for many.
It is. So ICS lets you automate these really complex data pipelines that can slash development cycles, maybe from weeks down to just days. And importantly, it helps cut infrastructure costs too by using resources better. It's basically about streamlining the whole thing, letting your really skilled people focus on, higher value, more strategic initiatives instead of just plumbing.
Okay, that efficiency angle makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But often the big push is, what can we actually do with this data once it's flowing smoothly?
Yeah.
How does ICS help get beyond just moving data to delivering insights you can actually trust quickly?
Well, that brings us straight into the second area, faster, reliable insights. Because moving data fast isn't enough if it's, wrong or stale.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out, faster.
Precisely. So ICS helps because it has data quality checks sort of baked in. And it supports real-time integration. This means the information hitting your analysts, your decision makers, it's much more likely to be accurate and current.
Okay.
And that lets teams make smarter choices, reacting to the market or customer needs with actual confidence, not just, educated guesses.
Timely, accurate data.
Oh.
Yeah, that's absolutely crucial. But things change so fast, right? New data sources pop up, business needs shift. How does ICS handle that need for, future-proofing, staying flexible?
That's where scalability and agility come in. That's our third key area. It's really about the organization's ability to adapt quickly, adding new data sources, maybe new apps, dealing with evolving business demands without having to tear everything down and rebuild every single time.
Which is a huge drain.
A massive drain. So ICS has this huge library of connectors, and it uses a low-code approach that lets teams integrate new systems pretty fast. But here's something often overlooked, but it's a huge accelerator.
Okay.
The ability to build reusable components, think of them like pre-built data Lego bricks. You create them once, and then you can snap them together really quickly for new projects.
So it speeds up future work too.
Dramatically. And it keeps things consistent across your whole data landscape. Makes everything such more manageable long-term.
Okay, got it. Reusable Legos. I like that. Now, the fourth area, risk, compliance. These are huge, non-negotiable things today. But getting governance right feels like a massive struggle for lots of places. How does ICS actually help simplify or strengthen that, beyond just saying it has features?
Yeah, and that's our fourth area, risk reduction. This is absolutely critical. ICS helps meet those compliance demands, helps safeguard your data. And it's not just security, it's also about robust data governance.
Which is basically setting the rules, right?
Exactly. Setting the rules and processes for how data is managed, its quality, who gets access, and managing metadata, the data about the data.
What it is, where it came from.
Precisely, how it's transformed. So ICS gives you audit trails, role-based access, data lineage so you can trace everything. That built-in control, it cuts down manual errors and, crucially, helps you stay compliant. Avoid those big fines, and the reputational hits.
That really paints a clearer picture. It's not just a pipe. It's enabling speed, confidence, flexibility. So what does this all mean in the real world? You mentioned that financial services, firm example earlier, integrating systems after a merger. That sounds like a nightmare project usually.
Oh, absolutely. It could easily take months, maybe longer. huge amounts of manual work. But with ICS, because they could tap into that connector library and automate those complex data flows,
They did it much faster.
they integrated dozens of systems, validated the data in weeks, saved a ton on headcount, slashed manual errors, and got vital insights to their leadership way, way faster than they expected.
Wow, weeks instead of months. That really shows the kind of speed and impact we're talking about when you approach this strategically. And, it's really interesting, and maybe where the biggest wins are, is when teams go beyond just making those first connections, something we sort of touched on.
Absolutely right. The biggest gains, the really sustainable ROI, comes when teams don't just implement, they optimize.
Hmm. Okay, how so?
Well, it's when developers are proactively building those reusable components we talked about. When the architects are actually monitoring pipeline performance, looking for bottlenecks, and critically, when data governance and metadata aren't just bolted on at the end.
The baked in from the start.
Exactly. Treated as top priorities right from day one. That's how you make the ROI repeatable, scalable, not just a one-off win.
So this raises an important question then for you listening right now.
Mm.
Beyond just getting ICS up and running, how can you strategically focus on things like governance or building those reusable parts to get not just impact, but that truly repeatable, scalable ROI from the data integration tools you already have?